Okay, so get that, the share, copy, take off. Okay, okay, so get that, the share, copy, take off. Okay, so get that, the share, copy. Hi everybody. How is this working? Is it? No. I'll take them to YouTube. Right. Okay. Hi everybody. Are you hearing me? Can you hear me? Hello. Hi everybody. How is this working? Is it? No. I'll take them to YouTube. Right. Okay. Hi everybody. Are you hearing me? Can you hear me? Hi everybody. How is this working? Is it? No. Hi everybody. How is this working? Is it? No. I'll take them to YouTube. Right. Hi everybody. Are you hearing me? Can you hear me? Hello. Hi everybody. Are you hearing me? Can you hear me? Hi everybody. How is this working? Is it? No. Hi everybody. I'll take them to YouTube. Hi everybody, are you hearing me? Can you hear me? Hi everybody. Hi everybody, are you hearing me? Can you hear me? Hi everybody. Hi everybody. Hi everybody, are you hearing me? Can you hear me? Hello. Hi everybody, are you hearing me? Can you hear me? Hi everybody. Hi everybody, are you hearing me? Can you hear me? Hi everybody. Okay, are we back now? Let's see what's going on, participants. Okay, admit. Hi. So what's happening is we're streaming it through YouTube onto.
Hello.
To get it, you have to go into Facebook, into the Dementia Friendly group.
Yeah.
And then it's a YouTube. So you then go into then you tap the YouTube post.
So is it on there now then?
Yeah, it's on there now. Should be.
But will that start the feedback again though?
As long as I don't have mine on, I think.
Oh right. Where are we then? I'm on your site.
So you're on
Dementia piece.
It says we are having a broadcast this week through YouTube. So you have to tap the YouTube thing. Tap the YouTube thing.
So go on to Facebook first.
Yeah.
Then go to you. Dementia Friendly Havant.
Dementia Friendly Havant, yeah.
Yeah.
And then tap YouTube.
Where's the YouTube then? Oh yeah. No, that's the 21st. I've got you. Oh yeah, no, I've got you. There we are. Hang on.
Hello, Jane.
What else have we got on there? Anybody else?
Jane.
There we are. Oh yeah, I've got you on here now.
Okay, so you tap the YouTube, yeah?
Yeah, I've got you on here.
And you're hearing me? Yeah? Is it working?
I can.
You have to go to YouTube. You have to tap the YouTube.
Right, the link, yeah?
Yeah. And that'll take you to YouTube.
Yeah, oh yes, okay, it's me on there. Woo.
Yeah, all right. So Janice, we are ready. So just so everybody knows, we've got a bit of a problem, folks, this week.
You're here. I think that's me.
That's brilliant.
I don't know who else is on there.
So a bit of a problem this week, folks. We can't get it to live stream on Facebook, so you have to go into YouTube. And B, the speaker couldn't come, so I had to get a volunteer early this morning to do it. So
while I'm still drowsy, and
so Janice is going to talk about her memories through a crafty childhood. So it's over to you, Janice.
Oh right, straight in. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've always been interested in sort of different bits and pieces of craft, and it's lovely to have kept bits and then to go back and remember.
Oh, I think you've muted yourself.
Have you muted me, Tim?
No, you're unmuted.
You're
Oh,
right now.
okay. It's nice to have things to go back and remember all the different things that's brought, sort of made me what I am, and what all the different things that I've done. And my grandfather on my father's side was a weaver. He was an electrician and went blind in his 50s, so actually took up weaving. I mean big weaving. I mean big rug looms and things. And my father used to warp up the loom for him, and then he would follow the pattern to actually weave. But I mean, he did amazing things. Apparently, I mean, he died when I was really young. I don't remember him at all, but I've heard so much about him from my parents and from my grandma. And he won awards for the designs of his weaving. And I know in our house we had a beautiful floor rug, although Dad eventually did put it up on the wall, of a llama. It was grey and it was all different. This llama sort of appeared out of the grey, and some of it was llama wool in it. So we've always had that sort of creativity in the family. And because we were all concentrated on weaving, when I was 5, I was diagnosed with diabetes. So I was in the hospital for quite some time. And I know my mum bought me a little loom, just a little wooden loom. And I made this. Can you see it? In fact, I made 4 pieces of it. So this is when I was 5. And the plan was to make a teapot cover for my mum. I'll get round to finishing it one day. I'm very good at starting things and never very good at finishing them. So that was my first go at actually weaving. Very basic, but very simple. And then I tried making something a bit longer. So then I've got this. Well, it kept going and going and going again. But can you see? That's really nice. And then the tension starts going. And there's a really scrubby bit in the middle there. So I think in the end, I gave up on that one. And then I was also in the time that I was off school. Do you remember the cotton reels with the pins in the top, where you used to make the different long strips of things? That's it. So I've kept some from when I was really young. And just by doing it in the different patterns, different ways, you get the different patterns on the wall. And I used to spend hours doing that. I used to love doing that. And I was bought one which had 5 prongs on it, so I could get even better patterns with that. And then but just simple craft things. So, you know, just winding wool around cocktail sticks to make Christmas decorations. Had these years, never go up. I just love them. Mum always got us making things. We never really bought anything. We always made things. I thought that's what you do. Loved it. And then I went to a church, a really friendly church, and it really was like a family. And one of the elderly women there, I can't remember why or what it was for. I think it was because I was doing the weaving and I was young. She gave me this crocheted lace. Can you see how fine that is, how beautiful that is? And there were several pieces of it. I can't remember why on earth she gave it to me, but it's beautiful. And that really sort of opened my eyes to the different things that you can do. And that's just, the zigzag lace used to be really popular. And I used to put it onto clothes and things, and that's been used to crochet round things. So, and my grandma as well, she was very good at sewing. Mum was always sewing things as well. So she was always going off and doing things, encouraging me to do things. And she actually made me my own sewing basket. She went off to a craft workshop, learn how to do willow bark. She made me a tray, so all the edge of the tray is all willow bark. It's just even beautifully lined as well. So there's always encouragement to explore and do different things, which was really nice. And then follow it. So with the crochet, I did have a go at crocheting lace. Can you see that? That's a better angle. So you start by crocheting just the ring in the middle, and then crochet the next round. And if you crochet the next round after that, it pushes it out. So you end up with this 3D effect. I was quite fascinated by all that. And then my mum took me to the Victoria and Albert Museum. And I was blown away by drawers and drawers of the finest lace that there was. And macrame lace. You always think of macrame. Back in the 70s, macrame was really popular. And it was all big and chunky and plant holders and bags and things like that. But this macrame lace was just absolutely intriguing, absolutely beautiful. And all these experiences have made me sort of kept building up all these ideas of things that I'd like to try. And then my mum decided, when I was at college, Mum thought we've inherited all this weaving stuff from Grandad, and it was sitting down in the shed not being used. She wanted to learn actually how to weave and how to do some of the textiles, to use the equipment. And she went to a college course, where the same college I happened to be doing my A-levels at. And they didn't do just a weaving course, it had to be a whole textiles course. And so she learned all about the weaving, she learned the real macrame techniques and things like that. They got to the bobbin lace and she really couldn't get it. She really struggled with it. I think it was a finer thing. She liked the bigger, chunkier things. So she said, well, it's during one of your free periods, can you pop in? So I went in and I loved it. Absolutely loved this lace. So we made our own pillow. So here it is. Inside here, there's a wooden ball behind it. Inside here is a whole bag full of hay. So we absolutely hammered it down. We had a very tight cloth. You get so much straw in there, it's unbelievable. But it really holds the pins tight. And then you've got the bobbins underneath. And the bobbins themselves are things that people collect. And on that one there, you probably can't see it, there's a Persian cat, and I bought that because I used to have a Persian cat when I was making the lace as a teenager, and she used to be driven mad by the sound of the bobbins going backwards and forwards, so she used to jump onto the lace pillow and try and play with them as well. I had done a basic piece on there, but it's very difficult to see. So let me find this other bit. See if I can show you. Lace actually is the simplest thing in the world. It's basic weaving. So although we think you're doing something different, it is still basic weaving. So this bit here in the middle is just woven threads. That's all it is. All those bobbins are doing that. The bit underneath it here is where you weave it, but you twist the pair of bobbins each time so that it gives it a firmer look. And somewhere at the top there, see it's more triangular. That's where you do half the stitch. So rather than 2 threads going backwards and forwards, it's just 1. So you get a lighter look. So that's lace. It's just 1 stitch, which you can do with an extra twist or only do half of. The rest of it is about in what order you do it and where you put the pins on the pillow. So the one bit of lace you are taught is torchon lace. Everyone learns torchon lace first because it's the easiest lace in the world. So that's a very basic torchon lace bookmark. So you've got some very simple weaving around the outside and something called a Bedfordshire spider in the middle. And I like the Bedfordshire spider because I grew up in Bedfordshire. And then you get to make lots of bookmarks because they're the quickest things to do. So whenever I need somebody to give somebody something, I make one of these bookmarks here. And that takes me about 3 hours to make. The one on the side here, I don't know if you can see, that's got beads in it. So that was me experimenting with putting little beads into the, can you see that, little blue beads? Very difficult to get it on the camera. So that was just learning basic lace. And as you can see, there's all kinds of different sizes of thread. So you go from the really thick ones here right down to these absolutely fine ones here. So of course we're encouraged to explore and experiment a little bit more. So I tried some thicker crochet thread, which to me was a bit bulky, didn't like that. So I thought I'd experiment a little bit more, tried a bit of linen. That was obviously hard work because I've stopped halfway through. And this was sewing thread. I can tell you now, never used sewing thread to do lace with. I was so frustrated with it. The twist on the thread that you're using is so important as to how well it works. The sewing thread is twisted far too much for lace, and it keeps curling up and getting itself in knots, and yeah, I'll never do that again. So then, having made sort of a traditional type lace, I thought I'd start experimenting. I liked pictures. So I think I went through a phase of wanting to make up a fish tank. So that was one shell. Then I made another couple of shells. And that's the same pattern, but you can see just putting a different coloured thread in one of them makes such a world of difference to how it looks. Then there was obviously some fish. I was using different coloured threads for the fish. And that's exactly the same pattern again, but can you see with the tail, I've used on this side, I've used the whole stitch. On that one, I've used the half stitch, and just what a difference it makes to how it looks at the end of the day. So it was just experimenting with different techniques and different things. I've obviously tried a butterfly at some point, and I've used wire in the top bits here to keep, that's just a very, very fine plait, and I've used a wire to keep it in place. But I don't think that worked very well because I haven't used that again. But then I discovered something called Russian tape lace, which all it is a continuous tape, but you can use either the whole stitch, half stitch, or whole stitch and twist to give it different flavors. So I really like this because this built up quickly. So I found another little pattern on it. That's fun, little hedgehog. And then I went through a stage of this Celtic love of Celtic. You know, all teenagers do, don't they? They love the Celtic patterns and things. So I found this pattern in the book, and I thought that would make absolutely ideal take place. So I worked out where I'd put the pin marks on it. Then I translated it. Now this, in old days, this would have been parchment, leather parchment that they would have put it onto, but now that it's sort of cardboard that's used, but a specific type of cardboard. And you can see why I've used different colour pens to show where the workers are going to, especially when it goes over each other, so you know what you're doing. How lace makers do it without indicating where they're going, goodness knows. And that then is the final piece of lace. So I'm really pleased with that bit. That was my first bit of designed lace. And from that, my friend, she bought oh no, this one first. So I've got bits all over the show. One of the things that I really was encouraged to do by my mum and my grandma was to make my own clothes. And I made this dress. It's very 70s style. And I love the material, but it had this collar, which to me was very plain. So I took the actual design of that was on the material, and I worked out a pattern. Is that's not going to show, is it? There we go. To actually go on to the lapel. I found a pattern for a Russian tape top flower bit. And then I worked out, this is on graph paper, actually how it would work and where all the pins would go and what it would do. And then I created, I've got to be careful of the light here. You're not going to see it, eh? Can you just see on the top of the thing there and how it goes down the lapel of the dress? I was so proud of that because not only had I made the dress, but I made this bit of lace to go on it. I was still at, I made the dress when I was in middle school. So I must have made the dress when I was 12 years old. And I think I put this bit onto it. Well, it must have been while I was doing my A-levels. So I must have been 17, 18 when I put the lace onto it. And I've still got it, never wear it. I don't think it'd fit me anymore. But. So that was really getting into the design. And then my friend really liked that. So she had made a plain green dress and she said she would like something to go onto the two pockets of it because it was like a pinafore sort of dress. And she liked swans. So we found this lace picture of a swan. And that's the size that it actually was in the book. So we had to enlarge it up so it still worked. And then I made two of those and they went on the pocket of her lace, of her dress as well. But I had to make one for myself. So that is actually how it looks. And that is just a very simple weave and then a half stitch to do the wings with. So it is so simple, but it looks so effective and it is just so easy to do. So while Mum was at the college, she discovered all kinds of different textiles to do. So she got me experimenting with all sorts of different things as well. And this is woven, but it's a little woven pot. So there's a lot of braiding and things that is done by hand weaving. So this you start off just by weaving around the warp at the bottom. But then you start working it up. So you leave the bottom behind and you pull it up and work it up until you get to the top. And then the warp, the bits you've been weaving around, you thread back under and you cut them at the bottom there. So that's the way of stopping it unthreading. But you ended up with this little handmade pot. Funny the things you hang on to, isn't it? And my mum bought a spinning wheel, which she was much better at than me. I had to go. So this is my attempt at spinning, and that's still surviving after all these years. It's still going, but I've never tried to use it in anything. I don't think there's enough there to use it much. We actually had a dog with lots of hair and this blue Persian. We did talk about using the dog hair in the spinning, but I don't think that ever happened either. Right. So the other thing that Mum discovered while she was at college is a lace called tatting. Has everyone ever heard of tatting? It's called tatting because all it is this little shuttle here. And you can take it on the bus, you can sit and do it anywhere, it's wonderful. And women used to sit and chat, so sit and tat whilst they made it. So it's called tatting because that's the old English word for chatting. So we used to sit and tat. And I don't know if I'll be able to show you this. Let's have a go. So you've got the string there. You take the other string up, down through the loop. So you've got that knot on that bit of string. If you let it go loose and pull, the knot, I didn't do that very well. The knot goes onto the other bit of string. Let's try that again. So up, down, watch. Then it's gone onto the other bit of string. So by doing 2 of those, I can then move that knot, because it's moved from one to the other, I can actually move it along the bit of string. And what you do is do a whole round of those. Just keep going round. And then you pull it up and you end up with a little circle. And you can do it in straight lines as well. So really easy and simple to take anywhere and to do anywhere. So that's a little bit, that's basic tatting, what it looks like in the end. Really pretty. And if you go onto Pinterest, there are huge amounts of young women doing this these days, and so many modern things out there. That little pretty cat, a couple of loops for his ears, twisted bit for his tail. You can get all kinds of different patterns and things. This was me doing a bit more. So the traditional sort of tatting, so that would have then, this would be an edge that would have gone round. There's the corner. It'd gone round a piece of a napkin or a tablecloth or something like that. But again, you can see I get bored with things very quickly. So I've got halfway around and got bored and then stopped. But it's meant I've got something to keep. This is something I did finish. So there's a completed coaster and I've got a set of 4 of those. But you can see it goes up and down a little bit. I'm not very good at tension. I think I get very excited and tense. But I thought I'd try and be a bit more adventurous. And rather than just doing the more traditional stuff, I found a pattern. So there's a, oh, I can keep it on. There's a flower and a dragonfly. So that's made with a bigger cotton and doing it. And I think I was going to make a much bigger picture. But I obviously did those 2 pieces and then got distracted by something else. I'm going to end up with bits all over the show here. Another type of weaving she discovered is just use an ordinary bath sponge. Now, who thought you could actually weave with a bath sponge? So this, you draw a pattern onto it. And you see I've got pins on the outside. They would go all the way around and you'd create your warp by going backwards and forwards over it. And then you'd weave in and out on that circular thing. So here's one I made earlier. So these make really effective little circles and so simple to do. Anybody can have a go at that. You don't even have to have a pattern. You can just sort of create the warp and then just weave away at it. Can you see that's the center bit? Just by weaving quite tightly, you can get quite an effective little pattern. When I did leave to go to college, this was, my father gave me this. He bought it in an antique sale. So that's a piece of antique lace. Absolutely beautiful, that the way that that picture has been created and formed, and it's seamless. You can't see where the ends of the thread is at all. So I've always inspired to do something like that, but one day I will. Oh, and the other bit that Tim actually photographed, I forgot about that. So while I was designing my own lace, when I was in my early 20s, I carried on with the tape lace theme. And I wanted to create something which had so two chords, but were going in opposite directions on something. So I drew this out. And so you got one bit, the green bit's going in one direction and the red bit's going in the other direction. But then when I tried to actually work it out on lace, it's practically impossible to do. But I did work out, if you did each section of it in one bit, you could then actually put it together to do it. So that's the whole design. And that's where I've got to so far. So I'm 2/3 of the way around. I've just got 3 more sections to do. Now I designed that when I was 21. I started making it when I was 22. I've now been married. That was before I was married. I was married when I was, what, 25? So I've been married 32 years. So the plan is that one day I will finish it, but probably when I'm retired. So it is slow going, but I'm really pleased, proud of what that is, because it is quite complex. Other types of weaving. My father, I bought myself a guitar in my late teens, and my father did some card weaving, and he created me this guitar strap. So card weaving is where you got a rectangular of card, a hole in each corner, and then so you got your wool whooped through it, and then you twist it. Each card you twist, and it's that twisting of which threads you've been to the top that creates the pattern. So that was created with some basic card weaving. And then when I got another guitar, I decided to make my own guitar strap. And I went to stay with Mum and Dad for an Easter holiday. And they were into natural tie dyeing at the time, or natural dyeing. So this was just a cream weft. We tie dyed it in beetroot skins. And so we haven't tie dyed this, we've tie dyed the warp. Then we've spread the warp out when we've put it on the loom. And I've made it on an Inca loom. So an Inca loom is where you can just do a continuous bit of cloth over and over and over. It doesn't stop. You can just keep going. So that is the whole of the guitar strap. So last few bits. Tim will stop me if he wants. Back about 8 years ago, not long after I joined Rotary, I was talking with another Rotarian about how in the 70s things used to be made out of ties. Of course, Rotary is very renowned for men wearing ties. I know less and less we're doing it. So we said, wouldn't it be good if we actually did a project where we actually made things out of ties? So this was a prototype bag. You see, so that tie there, the point of it is underneath there. This tie here, the point of it is underneath there. So you've got a good firm base, but then as you sew it, it sort of comes around diagonally. And then you've got this bit here, which creates the top. So this is a prototype design that we did. Tim put out on Facebook though that we're making things out of ties. We ended up with boxes and bags of ties just arriving on our doorstep from Rotarians right around the country. It was absolutely unbelievable, and some of them were very questionable taste, I have to say. And in the COVID-19 lockdown, I've actually decided to finish 1 or 2 projects that I've had on the go for a long time. So going back to the crochet, good old fashioned crochet. I've had this wool. You can't see, it is bobbly. It's got lots of bobbles in it. I've tried to crochet something from it. I've tried to do lacy tops and all sorts for years, and I really couldn't. You can't count the stitches because of the bobbles. You can't count how far you've got, and it was a nightmare each time I tried to do anything. So I finally got round to making a scarf with it. I had some other bits of leftover wool. I've made another scarf with that, and this is it. It comes around like a tie, so the scarf goes inside the tie, so it goes around your neck and down. Inspired by other people, of course. I started this embroidery a long time ago, and of course I don't like just cross stitch embroidery. I do like textures, so I finished off that, and that's going to become a cushion cover. And I'd also got this. I bought this cardigan a long time ago, and it had some really gaudy beads on it. I really didn't like them, so I cut the beads off, and I managed to cut a hole in the cardigan in doing so. So I have actually done some tatting. Can I show you that? There we are. I've tatted a couple of bits over the holes, and then I've put some beading on it, and that is the overall thing. So I have been making use of the COVID-19 lockdown time and a bit more relaxed atmosphere in the house without having to rush out all the time to get on and do some of the crafts which I absolutely love.
Thank you, Janice. Thank you.
Hey, brilliant.
So, just so everyone knows, this went out live on YouTube, I think, and it's recorded, so I think it can be played back. It's a bit of a shame that we couldn't live stream it on Facebook, but I don't know what was wrong.
It's still going on.
Is it? Yeah.
There's got a delay on it.
Yeah.
But it's still going on. I've been watching both.
But wasn't that interesting? So
yeah, brilliant.
Sorry we had a problem this week, but hopefully we'll try and get it live again next week.
Can I just show Janice something?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I just went and found this, Janice.
Hey!
My mum made them.
Oh, that's crocheted, isn't it?
She used to make all these bits and pieces. I don't know whether it's crocheting or weaving. It's probably crochet.
It looks like crochet.
But well, I've got quite a few of those that, like you, I keep hold of things, and
oh, absolutely.
Those are bits of my mum's all over the place. So,
Nice.
when you showed that, I thought, God, gosh, go and find that.
And they did. Everybody used to do it.
Oh,
Oh, you got your macrame bag.
Mention macrame. I don't do anything. I'm not, like this. But I went to a conference, and Angel from Thing to the Chateau taught me how to do that.
Hey!
It was at a conference, and that was one of the things she taught me to do. That's from the Chateau, and that was what we did. Anyway,
brilliant.
I'll show you that. It was only last November I did that.
And none of these things are difficult, are they? So you just have the time to sit down and do it.
No time at all.
One thing I did.
Materials though, isn't it? I haven't got them,
One thing I have done recently with because I do activities was do an Easter basket with the residents, and that was really just wool, and I cut the sort of cardboard plate, a paper plate, into pieces, and they just threaded in and out, weaving all the way around, and it came up right up to a shape. I haven't got it here unfortunately because it's still there, but it came up. That was very effective because I used like rainbow wool to do it.
Oh, lovely.
It was really pretty. It was they got a load out of that. Yeah, it was very good.
You just need the simplest of things to get real pleasure out of doing it, don't you? And
yeah. And so weaving can be quite easy if you sort of make it an easier way. Yeah.
Well, that's right. Yeah. No, and just a I mean, we used to wrap wool around an old box or a food tray or anything, can't you? And just do it, and we, thread beads with it and everything, and make bracelets and.
Yeah. No.
Can I interrupt? Can we next week Jackie is going to do a quiz, aren't you, Jackie? So shall we'll carry on doing it on a Wednesday, shall we? We'll carry on to next Wednesday.
Fine, yeah. Fine for me.
Yeah, we'll do it next Wednesday. And I will try to get it live again on Facebook, but if not, what we might do is try to get people to come on Zoom. We could actually advertise the Zoom link on Facebook, but we'll see what we can do in the meantime. But I do think the YouTube will stay on as a you'll be able to play the YouTube back, so it'll be a case of sharing it with people. Yeah. The
difficulty you had with the YouTube, I was trying to do at the same time, was to add a couple of comments, and of course you had to go off of YouTube back onto the site, put the comments in, then go back onto YouTube, so it was quite tricky to leave comments.
And when we've got it live on Facebook, I can live stream it elsewhere, because you can have it a watch party, but you couldn't have a watch party. And we couldn't actually get people integrating with it. But we're experimenting, and we weren't going to let it defeat us, because it's not about. Jane is with us as well. Jane Ward, did you enjoy that, Jane?
Yeah. Jane.
Hello.
Yeah.
All right.
You were enjoying your little relaxation there, watching that, weren't you, Jane?
I was, yes.
It might be Jane. It might be, Jane, that can be shared with other groups, because if it has recorded on YouTube, then that can be shared.
Well, I do put it onto our general Facebook so that it's advertised generally.
I'm talking about the video could be shared, you see, because it's now it is a YouTube video. Janice is famous. Anyway, so thank you for being here again. We'll try next Wednesday then, Jackie, and it will be a quiz. Yeah. All right. Yep. Brilliant.
I'm just pleased I made it on here, because I'm
well done, Sandy.
Very
And thank you for your.
I was practicing like mad this morning with my husband to make sure I could click it and get on.
Thank you for your feedback as well. I did read it. I didn't reply to you, but I did read it. Okay, well, we'll see you all again next week. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Janice. It was really good.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.